And we're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you. We've got an interesting guest for you this morning, and I'm going to let Steve go through the roster and
we'll say
call everybody out here. But
first of all, we'll say good morning to Evan, our special guest, train builder. Whoops! I got to turn off my volume.
Yes.
All right. What's nothing for him? We got Al Marr. Good morning, Al. Roy Elf, Schoolkill, River Valley John Tenzillo. And let's see, we got Bill. Good morning, Bill. Model Railroad Adventures with Bill. We got Otter Creek and Rio Grande. How you doing, Dennis? Steve Anderson. Wow, we got a full crew here. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. Okay.
Oh,
Anyway, good morning, everybody.
Like Steve said, we want to welcome Evan, and it's Bautista.
Yep. Evan
Bautista. Yeah, I told you, Steve.
Bautista. There you go. Yeah.
He didn't know how to pronounce it, so.
No, Evan. Yeah, he's a live steam guy. He's got 1-inch scale and 1.5-inch scale. Well, actually 2.5-inch scale narrow gauge. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, Evan?
Sure. Nice and early this morning.
Oh, nice and early. We definitely early.
So my name's Evan, and I build trains, and I kind of kit bash trains is what I do. So I got a couple locos. I did they're all in kit form and stuff. I'm not quite at the level of machining. Still have a little more. I have machined a couple things with buddies, but still kind of working that out. I need a mill and a lathe. I need a couple other couple of tools to do that. But I got a little poly locomotive, a little British poly locomotive that I've put together. I got a little YouTube channel called Train Builder. Mm-hmm. Check it out. And I just kind of document the process and have fun on the way. And then I have this little 2.5 scale AccuCraft loco that her and we definitely butt heads with because she needs a little help. So I'm slowly replacing all the parts with American parts, put it that way. She's a cantankerous little beast, but she runs pretty good for what she is. And that's been fun. That's kind of my dream steam. My heart's a narrow gauge. I love logging narrow gauge and so forth. And a lot of the Hawaiian Railroad, like the Myrtle and stuff. So I kind of go for that look, if you will. And then I do this little line of Thomas stuff, Thomas the Tank Engine, and I kit bashed an R class into Thomas. And that's been fun. That's on my little channel too. Check out Train Builder.
Absolutely.
That link's in the description.
What's that?
The link to your channel is in the description of the show.
Cool. Yeah. Come on by. You can see my paper mache trains, my origami cars, my rough patch and work. We keep it fun here at Train Builder. I get a lot of young guys with the whole Thomas line and stuff, so that's really what I enjoy too, is exposing it to younger generation to keep steam alive.
Well, yeah, you've got to be the most popular guy in your neighborhood having a track around your house.
Oh yeah, the kids love, definitely. No, word spread pretty fast. Word spread pretty fast. I get sometimes after like around 3:00, I'll be out here with the garage open painting something, and kids will come by with their parents and like, I was wondering what that track was. And so I tell them, and I put them on an email list for train run days. It finally got to the point where I'm like, I need to try to inform these people because they're getting pissed, but they're not. She ran the train and didn't tell me. Didn't tell Johnny over here. So
yeah,
I have a little email list now, and I just send it out. And hey, train run Sunday, 3:00. Come on by, and do that. So that's kind of the deal around the neighborhood here. They call it the Willow Glen Express now.
Yeah, you're going to need to have more cars. You're going to have to build more cars.
That's why I went to the 2.5 scale stuff. I was afraid for insurance. If I run the 1 inch, somebody's gonna fly off there.
Yeah.
It's just I was like, okay, the 2.5 scale is a lot. I feel a lot more comfortable yanking the public around.
So now, Evan, do you have 2 sets of tracks that you set up? Because if you got 1 inch scale,
no, I should. I was thinking about doing a third. The Polly and Thomas are 5-inch gauge, so I'm working on metric with those things. They're all from Europe.
Okay.
Which I'm kind of glad I started with like the YouTube channel, because it kind of scooped up some of the Euro audience first, because Americans were my heart's at. That's what I really enjoy, our American locals. So it's like 50-50. I love British stuff. There's a lot of austerities and stuff, and I've learned a lot throughout the last couple of years.
Well, so tell us how you run 1-inch scale and 1.5-inch scale at the same time.
I got portable track, so I got portable track in the backyard. Yeah, a bunch of 2x2 ties with 1-inch scale rail, and I just do a straight line. I just do a straight line down the side yard for the 1-inch scale stuff. And
so Dennis from Rock Creek wants to know if you have a specific prototype.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I personally, like I said, I like a lot of the Disneyland Railroad. I don't have any prototypes myself. I haven't built any prototypes. I'm not that good. I don't have this stuff, but nothing completely prototype right now. I would really like to try to do the Ernest S. Marsh from Disneyland. I think that would be pretty cool to do. I have a special place in my heart for that railroad, being narrow gauge as well. And a lot of the little plantation engines they use to fix those up. And I don't know, maybe, we'll see something like that. I mean, probably the biggest prototype one I have might be Thomas. Okay,
here's
I see some of these guys, Pacifics and Mikados. They're just amazing. I got a guy at Sacramento who's as beautiful as Mikado you've ever seen, just a working dynamo and everything, and it's just incredible. It's just I see this locomotive, you're like, how the hell? So he's a really quiet guy too. He kind of keeps to himself. But I go over there, I'll pick his brain. I'm like, hey, Chris. Blah, 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 blah. What'd you do from here? Can you machine this part for me? And he's like, I might be able to. So,
here's a question that we ask everybody who comes on the show. How did you get started in trains at any scale?
In this scale?
At any scale.
Any scale. Train. I've been in a train since I was 2. My dad took me to Mitchell Park and the Cal train flew by. And I started shaking, and I was just like, my dad's like, he's having a seizure. And my mom's like, he likes it. So flew by. It's like, a 2-story building. And that's when trains just hit me. And from that on, it was just train. So, wood trains, plastic trains, G-scale trains. I tried to ride those, my fat ass, and I just, break them. And I couldn't really do too much with the live steam stuff when I was younger. We just didn't have the money to do it, and didn't really have the real estate to do it. But it was always in my heart, like, for live steam. I was like, I'm going to do that, read magazines and drool over pictures and see guys, all working on theirs. And that's that guy, Glenn, in Los Altos, who kind of got me into like my first real introduction. I saw the tracks around his house. I was just like, knock, 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 Glenn. Like, my name's Evan, blah, blah. He's like, all right, I'll show you my train. So he'd, take me around and show me different things. And, I was pretty versatile. I knew how a steam locomotive worked from a pretty early age. I just didn't have the resources to do it. It was more just electric trains and stuff. Mm-hmm. That was cool. That was cool. And then finally, like 2 years ago, I was like, man, I'm ready to do this. I'd machined a little 040 with a buddy way back in the day and helped him work on that and did some plumbing for that, and then worked on an American as well, 440, way back in the day. But I'd find little spurts of time, but I never I was always keeping that train bug in the back of me after I did the whole cool rock star thing, in my 20s and all that stuff. So I just kept it in my back pocket, and finally it was time. It was time to unleash the beast. I'm doing this. And they kind of dusted off. I'm like, well, I don't have a lathe, don't have all the right stuff. the Corona crap hit, and I was like, I'm just gonna get a kit from Poly, which was kind of an oddball move. Everybody was like, "Don't do it. You want it 4 3/4." I was like, I'm gonna do it. I want, I like this loco. It's affordable. I think I could do it. Everything's there. They get good reviews. The great boiler. So I ordered one from Poly from the UK, and the Brits thought I was crazy. The Americans thought I was crazy, and I was like, I'm gonna document this and just kind of go from there. But I learned a lot. It kind of dusted off. Like, okay, this is.
Is your wife into the train hobby, or is she just kind of?
Hang on, Steve's locked up, I think.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Evan?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. We lost you there for a
Can you hear
second. Yeah. We lost you for a second. So.
Yeah. My wife, she loves actually. She's her father is responsible for restoring the 2479. So he loves trains. Yeah, he works on the big stuff.
Wow.
He's been involved in that since the 80s. Like they're still going at it to this day. So when I first met her on our first date, she started telling me, she's like, my dad loves trains. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, started talking about trailing trucks and pony. I was like, you know this? What? Like, so I was a match made in heaven. I was like, I got to go for this girl. Wow. We got married on a train too. We got married at Niles Canyon. We rented a train for our for the reception. That was just, oh man, that was so much fun. We just took it back and forth, and everybody had a blast. So trains run deep.
Well, I think I can safely say this, Evan. Everybody on the channel today is jealous.
Of my wedding train.
Of being married to somebody that likes trains. That doesn't happen very often. Most of the time they put up with us,
Yeah, that's unusual. Very unusual.
Yeah, she's been raised. She's like, oh my God, I married my dad.
Well, that's what they say they do, right?
Yeah, I learned a lot from him too. His name's Guy. He's a really nice fella because he knows all about the real stuff, and I'm constantly picking his brain. Sometimes I annoy him. I'm just like, trains. He's like, oh, shut up, Evan. He's a great guy. He's helped me out a lot. He's always here during the first steamings. Whenever you throw something under steam for the first time, it can be kind of nerve-wracking. He's like, anything can happen, right? So I'm always like, Jack, you have to be over here, with a bucket of water in case this thing gets stupid on me, So yeah. He's a good guy, really good guy.
Wow. Well, I don't think people know it too, but you're an accomplished professional drummer too.
I play drums. Yeah,
play drums. Man's a drummer.
Yeah, teach full time. I got like almost 50 students a week I teach, and yeah, toured everywhere, played big names, little names, and everywhere in between. And that's kind of what took away my train side for years. Once drums hit like at 11 years old or so, that's when it was just like it was rock star time. It was just it was time to hit some tubs and hang out with some women, so and drink a lot. So that's when that kind of took over. But the trains were always there because every time on tour, we'd go over, from the U.S., we'd stop at railroad tracks and, random freight yards, and I'd be out there, like, meandering by myself, like, what's he doing? Is he okay? It's like, no, he just likes the trains.
Yeah. Roy Eltham says drummers are cool.
Drummers are cool.
Hey, we got Sparky. Good morning, Sparky. And hey, we got a stranger in there. We got Marcel, the Cloverdale Rail. How are you doing,
Marcel? Sparky? Good to see you guys.
Good morning.
I didn't see y'all sneak in.
Yeah.
Oh, and Lee's here too. Good morning, Lee.
Yep, got Lee.
Morning.
Lee popped in. Let's see. Anybody got any questions for Evan?
Yeah, usually they're rolling with questions.
Yeah, well, Marcel wants to know what time the auction is.
I think they're talking about something else there, Steve.
Oh, I would say what auction?
We're going to auction off that beautiful American behind you.
Oh no, that's gonna go with me when I die. They're just gonna bury me with it.
Yeah, put your ashes in the smokestack.
Yeah, with my luck, I'll get it all done and it won't run.
Oh, I don't know, man. That thing looks beautiful. That thing looks beautiful, though. I wish.
It's coming. I can't take credit for the engine though. I can. The other stuff, but no, my good friend John Felt, he built the locomotive, and
okay,
his attention to detail was just impeccable. He was a machinist for Erickson Air Crane. He built helicopters up here in Southern Oregon. So
Evan, Dennis with Otter Creek and Rio Grande.
Oh.
Dennis lives there in Oklahoma too, out west of me, but he's also a musician and also a narrow gauger. So although not on the scale that you are, but he wants just to ask drum questions now.
Doppelganger.
Well, Sparky wants to know what the hardest thing you've done train wise.
Oh man, the hardest thing. Dip into my bank account, probably convince my wife.
Don't say that.
Like, you promise you're going to sell a couple of these, right? You're going to sell a couple of these. The hardest thing, I don't know. For me, it's pretty easy because I'm a kit basher. I haven't really machined much. Well, little parts I'll take into my buddies if I need, and he'll machine them kind of for me or let me use his lathe. I'd say the hardest thing is one of the things now that I've kind of started a little YouTube channel is, everybody, what people want to see opposed to what I want to do. There's something, I personally love a bunch of narrow gauge equipment and stuff. And then you get this other side of the channel where I started building Thomas because I wanted to build a locomotive that was kind of iconic in respects, and that kind of, people knew. And I couldn't build the big boy. That one just wasn't happening. I couldn't build Flying Scotsman. That was just too much. But I could build Thomas, so I went with him. And I guess one of the hardest things is finding time to work on it as well. That's another big thing. It's just finding time. Because I have a little girl; she's 3, and trying to fit it all in. Painting and everything. Mm-hmm. So,
well, Roy Eltham wants to know if you have any smaller scale model railroad like HO, N scale, anything like that.
Yeah, actually, I got Hugh Hefner's train set. It's a G-scale Royal Blue. Bachman. This is actually Hugh Hefner's train set because my wife she worked with Hugh Hefner for 10 years. She wasn't a playmate or anything, but she actually, she was at the mansion for like 10 years of her life. They were good friends, her and Hugh Hefner.
He's just making it worse, isn't he?
She
likes trains. She worked at Hef's mansion, but come on, Evan, give us a break, dude.
Make yourself. Yeah.
You won the lottery.
Yes, I got that one. I love G scale. That's like where my heart is with electric trains. I have a little bit of HO. I sold a ton of HO. HO, you just get like droves of HO. There's always some guy down the street just passed away and he has a bunch of trains, so I'll go over there, and I've gotten a lot of stuff like that, and it ends up being way too much. I don't have the real estate to really set up a big HO there, although on 30 I would really like to get into that. There's a couple engines I like there, and
Dennis has another comment to make. He said, remember his wife is always just to the left in her chair. Reduce all values of trains and components by a factor of at least 10. Well, the other thing is, Dennis, you can now say, well, at least you're, not associated with Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, a lot of good times. See a lot of pictures of him, a lot of stuff, and we got his Royal Blue Bachman kit. Actually, there was 2 train sets. He had 2. He wasn't into trains or anything. He just, he had these around his Christmas tree, and I wanted the first one. It had the yellow coaches and a little more Christmassy look. It was a newer Bachman. This was the old one. This is like from the 80s, 90s. I used to see like the Royal Blue up at the San Antonio Hobby Shop and thought it was just all the world. When you're like 7, 6 years old, you see these, they seem so big. And it was years later, recently, and so it went up for auction. And she knew a couple people and were like, "Hey, we really want this thing," and so he would want us to have it, and they were like, he would want you guys to have it, and it was really cool. There's still some tinsel in the wheels. I just keep it right there. It's like preserved. So she displays it up above our little TV mantle thing. And
Wow.
I'll put a picture. I was thinking about doing some model trains on my channel here, branching out at some point. Because I got a few I could show off. But yeah.
Well, Dennis, since he typed it up there, I'm going to put it up here. He said his wife is hot enough. Just saying. He's trying to make points, I think.
Well, I'm getting messages from Roy Hardwick, Container Man. He says he can't seem to type in live chat.
Well, it's because he's driving his rig.
He's always lurking. You're always lurking.
Yeah, he's our resident trucker. He's usually
cool.
videos up driving all over the country. So
Roy Hardwick, Container Man 68.
Nice. He's heading to that rally in Canada.
Yeah. Come on, Roy, start a rally here. Get a rally going here.
Oh, he's at home, he said.
Oh, good. Do you have any trains, Clive?
Yes, I have HO scale. I've got dual gauge. Because I'm a narrow gauger. I like, I love going up Colorado and riding the narrow gauge trains up there. And it's killing me that they're changing them all over to oil. But
is it? Yeah.
I can understand the money situation and all that kind of stuff with them. So as long as they can keep the steam engines alive and going, I'm a member of the Friends of the Cumbers and Toltec and that sort of thing. So I'd love to be close enough I could go up and work on some of the old equipment and restore some of it for them. I would have loved doing that, but I'm just too far away. So but anyway, I love narrow gauge. I love the mountains, and so that's what got me into narrow gauge was the mountains. But I have a dual gauge layout, and the dual gauge is mainly just so I could do the interchange and have some free rail track and that sort of stuff. And but I like the narrow gauge stuff.
Well, Evan, Claude hand builds his turnouts and lays his own track. So he's
Well, there's a lot of guys that do that now. A lot more than I would have thought there was. But a lot of guys using the fast track system. And laying
check out his channel, Evan, because he's got some insane scratch build kits he's doing. Oh my God.
Yeah, I would love to check that out. Are you? What's your handle on there, Claude? Do you have
Cowboy Valley and Timberline Junction Railroad?
Okay. I'll check it out. I'll look through Steve's and I'm sure he's subscribed to your channel. I'll go.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Steve's on there. So
now Jerry's got a question for you, Evan, and Jerry's a woodworker.
Okay.
He wants to know what the car behind you is made from.
Woo!
Tell us a little bit about that car.
Bubble gum and watercolors. It's just a pretty much. I hope. My contractor's a woodworker too. He's the one who cuts a lot of this stuff for me because he actually has a table saw. He's not just over here balancing a jigsaw on top of a drum set. So this guy right here. It's been a lot of fun. It's just planks of wood. They're just planks. I just built a box pretty much. I had him shave down the side for this guy right here for the curve because it gives us a little more of the European coach look. And then I pretty much just have been gluing these sticks. Just these guys right here. I get from Home Depot. It's nothing fancy, just these little guys. And been gluing that and putting some paint on them. I'm doing the whole window mirror gig, which I'm pretty stoked about. I saw that at Sacramento. This guy did one on a Jackson and Sharp coach. I kind of liked it. I thought it was an easy way, so I did a little mirror windows. But I'm happy with it. It's a sturdy little thing, so nothing too, no mortise tendons, nothing too tricky here with these coaches. They're pretty much a box with some paint on it, with some windows. But they've been a lot of fun. They're sturdy little coaches. I think she can take 2 adults, no problem.
Cool.
And scale stuff, and this just so happens to be on my bench. I got some Thomas fans that have just been pushing me to get Annie and Clarabelle done. And
Now, how long is that car?
They've been rooting for me. They're like, "Come on, keep doing it, keep doing it." So I'm finishing them up. This is Railway Series Annie right here, and then I got to do Clarabelle. But it's very therapeutic, as you know, and you know, that's kind of my coach. I wish I had more to say as far as the woodworking goes. But yeah.
What's the length on that, Evan?
4 foot.
4 foot. Okay.
4 foot. Yeah.
Well, and Dennis wants to know, is it hardwood or plywood?
I think he froze.
I'm sorry. Say that one.
Wait, I'll wait till you get back. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm here. Yeah,
Dennis,
sorry, I missed it.
Dennis wanted to know if it was hardwood or plywood.
Plywood. So it's all
okay.
ply. Yeah, it's all ply. I've done it for really cheap. Actually, it was a lot of lumber that I got for free. I kind of built this one on the cheap. I just sanded the heck out of it and started using some Bond, just some putty and stuff to clean it up.
You sure did. I was watching your video yesterday, and I was telling Claude you did the time lapse with your sander, and it sounded like a mosquito buzzing around my ear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have to go watch that one.
That's how I clean up my claws. It's just I sanded my best friend. I shaved down probably 2 plies of wood on the damn thing. I started putting popsicle sticks on there. Yeah, but I'm pretty happy with it. She looks good. She's true. She's straight. She runs. Like I said, she's sturdy little box. I've seen some of these guys. Some of you guys out there, the woodworkers. Oh my god, incredible! Your cab too, Steve. Mwah, that looks great.
Oh,
some of that narrow gauge stuff that I see this one fella built in these flat cars on Backyard Railroad here on Facebook. I'm just enamored by a lot of these guys' work. Probably, you know, you guys just do such great work and stuff. I wish I had a little more tooling in here. I'm in a 1-car garage. I don't have much real estate to work with. But that is an art, man. Some of you guys are just incredible.
You have any plans on building any more coaches, or is that going to be just one?
2, Annie and Clarabelle. So
Annie and Clarabelle.
Yeah, Annie and Clarabelle are his 2 coaches that he tugs around. So, and the little Thomas fans let me know it every other day. So they give me they tell me, you know, the window does not go there. You know, there's a door there. There's a vent there. So I'm like, well, at least roll down a track. It'll be good enough for me. If my fat butt can fit on it and it carries me, we're a success right here.
You've got to do a video of your daughter firing up your 2.5-inch scale.
I've been waiting. I'm waiting for this water glass. I've been silent. I've been sitting here patiently in silence. Like the whole neighborhood's come by like 2 times. Like, when are you gonna run your train? I'm like, I know. I'm waiting for this water glass, and I need an axle pump too. The axle pump never worked on the thing. So the guys would give me an axle pump, but once again, I go back to the injector deal. I think I might just bite the bullet and just do the whole injector. So it wouldn't be that crazy hard to do. I gotta work on some plumbing to the tender, but. We'll see. Regardless, you know, once I get that water glass, I was thinking about that too, about filming her on there because she loves it. Her and I can both actually ride on the tender, which is cool. So she can sit, you know, kind of stand, sit. Yeah.
Oh, you hooked me with that video. Hey, Gus, stop. With her firing up Thomas, man, that was so cute. Her putting that little coal in the firebox and trying to oil it up.
Yeah, she's a little doll. She generally likes trains, which is really cool. You know, I expose her to it. I want to try, like I said, I really want to get her involved in it, you know, especially as like something to kind of go back on, you know, though, like I said, they'll hire her at the Disneyland Railroad like that. They love female.
Oh, sure.
You know, and so if she, you know, can honestly go there and point out, I know what a compressor is, I know what an injector is, I could run this thing and know how to run a steam locomotive by the age of like 19 or so comfortably. That would be pretty cool. You know,
get her over to Niles Canyon. They'll take her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we know a lot of guys there. I was part of. I didn't subscribe for this year and stuff. I've done a lot of track work and stuff at Niles, and special place in my heart over there. There's a great team over there.
Yeah, I met a few of them. I got a good fortune to do a cab ride back in 2015.
Oh,
And,
cool.
Oh man, those guys were awesome. I've got a video if you ever want to check it out. But
oh, sure.
Yeah,
I love the little Quincy there. Little Quincy, they have a little tank engine, a little 262 Quincy. That's really cool.
Yeah, this was on the 2472.
Yeah, 72. Oh wow, that's a treat.
Oh man, I was in heaven.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, they got some cool mountains. The Skookum up there is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we lost him again.
Loco.
Yeah,
really cool crew up there. Yeah, really cool crew up there.
No, the funny thing is, I was expecting a little more, restrictions and stuff. They let me up there and said the only thing, don't fall off and drink a lot of water. That was the only rules. Because it was it was hotter than hell up there.
And especially if they know, because like you, Steve, you've been involved in you did railroading for a living. Like once they know that about you, like okay, you're not just gonna go walk on these tracks. That's the biggest thing. Like there's a difference between like mini bike riders and train guys, right? It's like so we're not gonna just tear it up here. They'll take pretty kindly that they know that you respect the rails, understand what you're dealing with there. So they're really cool. He walks around. They're always for the engine shop. When I first would go there, like in high school, my dad took me there when I was really young. When they only had like the 55-ton switcher, I think it was, and a couple cars and this like little steamer. I think the Quincy might have been there. This was 100 years ago in the 90s, and they're really cool. They give us walks around the shop and stuff, and it was like till high school when I would go out there, and they were really really cool to me. Kind of showed me some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Roy has a question for Steve. He says, so since you're building those larger steam loco, did you sell off all your in-scale stuff to pay for the steam loco?
No, I still got it. I was telling Claude that it's all covered in about a 1/4 inch of sawdust. The whole layout. No, I've still got everything, Roy. It's gonna take me 2 weeks to clean everything. I left all my rolling stock out there, so everything's covered in a light film of sawdust.
That's not a good thing.
I've still got it. Hey, good morning, John. Grandpa Rails. How are you doing this morning?
Morning.
Yeah, Evan, I'll have to hook you up with Tim Parks. He's involved with the Oregon Coast Scenic. He's a fireman up there, and he's going to be moving over to the right-hand seat before too long. But,
oh wow, that's awesome! What an honor. Yeah, I had a couple guys from Roaring Camp. A lot of my buddies at Roaring Camp Railroad up here, and Felton. I'm sure you guys know Big Trees. They're a lot of the engineers, guy Trevor Park and Charlie. They're all engineers on the steam train. They're young guys too. They're like 22, and they've given me a couple cab rides and stuff on the Shays there in the Dixiana. And it's really cool to see them work in the ranks at a very young age, because it's good. It's carrying this along. They're the guys that are going to be taking this over. They'll be here longer than I will. I'm 38 now. These guys are like 22. But they're fully capable of operating Heislers and Shays. And they come over and run my locomotive. They're still at that really poor age right now where live steam is just, it's like 10 years away from being able to reach it. 10 grand is a lot of money, So,
well, that's interesting because Claude and I were talking in kind of that subject before the show about the age of people getting involved in this hobby is dying as far as the older guys not passing the knowledge on to the younger guys. And, you don't see too many young guys with steam equipment anymore because they're more interested in turnkey operations. Get it now, they want to get on the track and running. So a lot of guys aren't aren't building these anymore. So is what's your thought? Is the live steam hobby dead or dying, or do you think there's enough young guys that are, motivated enough to do it?
Like specifically here in the Bay Area and stuff, we have no real estate here. Everything's $1 million. Every freaking square foot's $1 million. Like there's nowhere to like even build stuff anymore. Like everything, all the industrial is just gone. If you find a local machine shop, it's going to be some guy's garage, or working on it like at their tech company with like a workshop in the back. Because I know Google and stuff does that. So there's little things there. As far as I can see your point about people want turnkey ready stuff. I've definitely fueled that with kit building because I don't have real estate or the machines to do that. And I think it's just to get that unless your father and stuff, your father, somebody in your family has this kind of stuff, or a good friend, you kind of grow up with it. It can be kind of intimidating too. I think a lot of people kind of getting into it. Everybody kind of fantasizes about it, but there's something to be said by actually doing it, I think there's still, like, I look at the demographic that watch my content and stuff, and it's a lot of 30s, it's a lot of 20s and 30s. So that's cool. And I get a lot of young guys too, little guys, and some of these guys, they're just not even aware that a steam locomotive runs on steam. Even they're like, well, where's the motor? It's like they're so young, they're still trying to figure this thing out. Right. They like the thought of trains, but to actually get dirty with trains, there's the dichotomy between the two is funny. It's like it's really easy to turn on your phone now and just drool over trains and immerse yourself into trains, but actually getting involved in trains and the whole dirty aspect of it. And that's what I love. I love just stinking like steam oil and just being dirty and just putting on my overalls. We play trains hard over here, and so for me, it's like it's just in the blood. I really immerse myself in it. I think for this future generation, it'll do what it does, because it'll weed out people that really like this and people that just want to go for rides and really want to build it. I think it's going to do what it's going to do. I try to expose it a lot more to the young guys. Like, I get asked a lot of really immature questions and stuff, by kids and stuff. They're asking me, what is that part up there? They don't know what an injector is. They don't know, they barely, what a steam dome. What's that dome do on top of the train? And rather than being like, oh, you dumbass, I just gently tell them like, oh, yeah, that's the steam dome, right there on the wheel train. This is the throttle right here, and this, that, and the other. Even as far as like, what are those rods on the wheels and stuff? And it's like, those are pistons, that's a running gear. So I kind of explain to them like, oh, okay. And they'll kind of get it there. So I think I was definitely deterred. I was always into, for me, I was addicted, but there's always that kind of, elitist feel with the live steam stuff as well, kind of growing up. Like, I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. I love trains, but I don't really know this about trains. So I try to kind of break that barrier with a lot of the kids on my channel and stuff. I think that come aboard. So
I found that the adults, that are in the live stream hobby are extremely friendly and giving. They want to show it off. They're not stuffy and they don't want to talk to you. They would much rather share it with people,
especially nowadays. Like nowadays, it's really cool to see. Like, we're all kind of like a brotherhood with this live steam stuff, and it's really cool. Everybody's kind of sharing their content now, and you can see a lot more. We have access to it, and we didn't have that before. It was always like the guy Glenn down the street with the tracks around his house. I didn't know that until I rode my bike around. There was no social media telling me, that this guy had a train down the street. It was all word of mouth, and there's still a lot of that today too. But now we can show each other projects. I think we expose a lot more to people, which is great. It's opening it up, for people to be like, one day, I think I want to do that. And
well, one thing I've noticed with when I've gone up to Colorado and New Mexico and ridden the real narrow gauge live steam engines up there, the firemen that I've seen the last few trips I've been up there have all been under 25.
Yeah,
these guys are really young that have learned how to be a fireman, and they're doing it and working for the railroad.
Exactly, Claude. I was thinking the same thing too, buddy. Like the guys in my roaring camp guys, they're all in their 20s. They're like young 20s. They come over here and ride my 2.5 scale because they can't afford it yet, but they know all about it. I mean, these guys run it better than I do. I'm constantly learning stuff about fire and coal with them, but they always have little tricks and stuff. They're always pulling stuff out. I'm just like sitting there listening to them, and they're like half my age. And it's really cool to see that. I see a lot of that too, Claude, and that makes me happy. I'm like, okay, because these guys are the ones that us older guys gonna be handing our trains off to and stuff. Where we going?
Yeah, the engineers are a little bit older. They're more say in their 50s and 60s even. But everybody else, the conductors and the firemen on the trains are all in their 20s. And,
It's kind of like that over here. Doug, he's in his like 60s.
Oh, we lost him again.
I was just flipping through chat. They were talking about me selling my Santa Fe switcher, and Roy was saying that I might regret that decision. I don't think so. That's how I got this thing, so I don't regret it at all.
We lost you a little bit there at the end, Evan.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say it's kind of like that too, Claude. Like we have like this guy Doug over at Roaring Camp. He's in his 60s and he's engineer. My buddy Trevor just turned engineer, but he's been fireman for the last freaking probably 6 years or so. He's been into it over there since he was a wee little guy, and it's really cool to see. So I see a lot of that too. A lot of guys getting in fireman positions that are really young, that are working it up to become the next engineers, and that feels good because at least like, okay, it's younger generations. But it's funny, like the train bug, when you get that thing, man, you can't shake it. Like it's an addiction. Like I am full on addicted. It was always since I was 2 years old. I put it away to do the whole rock star crap. But then I came back and it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, I gotta unleash this beast. So I think
that's why I had to do it for a living. My dad left me on trains way back before I can remember.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I was all into the diesels and stuff because that's what I saw my grandparents get on the train to go back to Texas. I lived in Southern California. And they would take the chief back to Texas, And so I saw those coming through all the time. I never saw a steam engine. And the first steam engine I ever really had anything to do with was the Lionel my dad got me for Christmas one year when I was young. But it wasn't really a steam engine. And now that I've been up and seen the narrow gauge engines, they're not quite as big and intimidating. They're smaller. They're still big, but they're much smaller than a full scale steam engine. But they're alive. Well, they're sitting there breathing and they're alive.
I was going to mention that, and they're alive, Evan. That's one of the fascinating things about live steam is how it comes alive. That's it's you roll it on the track and it's cold, and you start firing it up and it starts to come alive. You little hisses and pops, and pretty soon it's alive and breathing and roaring and I know comes alive.
You have all the 4 elements, man. You got air, you got water, you got metal, and you got pretty earth, dude. It's like it's all right there. It's like a circle of life. It really is. It's a living, breathing machine. I mean, that you are talking to that machine when it's under steam. You are talking to that. There's a musical connection. There's a relationship you form with your locomotive, getting it to perf, how you want it, and she'll talk to you. She'll let you know.
A lot of people don't realize too that they have a personality that isn't always consistent.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, they're all different.
Take this thing out one day, it'll run great. And take it out another day, depending on humidity or temperature or whatever, and it won't steam worth a crap.
No.
And it's it's just I did that with John running his Allen 10-wheeler. And one day I could not get that thing to steam right. Nothing. I finally asked him. He said, "John, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing the same thing." He says, "You're not doing anything wrong. It's just it's just one of those days."
Oh, they're different. Each locomotive is different. They'll tell you the engineers will tell you they all have their own personality.
Oh yeah,
and that's why usually the engineers that run for say Durango Silverton or Cummins and Toltec, they always run the same loco or the same 2 locos. They never run all of them because they're all a little bit different and they've got their idiosyncrasies that you've got to deal with.
Yeah.
And of course, on the Cumberson Toltec, it's so steep for a lot of it that you can't mess up. You got to be ready for everything up there. So
absolutely,
and it makes a difference, they said, on the locomotive that you're running. If you don't know that locomotive, it's going to be much more difficult to get it to operate like you need it to.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's if you've never been around a live steam engine, it's
I know.
It's just sitting there watching them, the steam coming out of them is really cool.
Yeah, I saw my daughter when we were at Roaring Camp like a year and a half ago, and when we dressed, it was a Halloween train we rode, and my buddies, I was over there rapping with them, and she had seen a couple other steam on, but this one just was like, whoa, she caught the shade, and she just kind of slowly walked, just looking at it, and was like, she gave it the eyes like this thing's alive. You know what I mean? It was pissing on steam everywhere. It was just, she was just talking to it, and she's like, good train and stuff, and just it was like this thing was an animal.
Well, what's really cool is the colder the better. You get a cold day, man. You find every steam leak that you couldn't see, and you got steam everywhere.
I know. I'm glad I finished my little loco in the winter here. I found 2 of them. I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't find these in the summer. Yeah.
It's like, no wonder she's not steaming right. It's got a leak everywhere.
Exactly.
It's like, geez.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think, but it's good to see other kids catching on to that. Like I said, you said, Claude, you see a lot of younger firemen. I see a lot of that too. Billy Jones Railroad over here, they have it's a 19-inch gauge, the 2-spot, and they have a Pacific locomotive. They're beautiful. They've been all restored. 100-year-old locomotive is the 2-spot, and she's a prairie type. She's a 2, but just beautiful, beautiful locomotive. And they've done a really good job in preserving that over here in Los Gatos and Vasona. And there's a lot of young guys get into that. Like personally, my buddy Ken, he ran operations over there, and he was gracious enough to kind of let me take the throttle at times and stuff. We don't talk about that. I'm not part of the team over there, but it's cool to see a lot of younger guys. There's a lot of young guys. There's a lot of guys in teens that really get into railroading. There's a kid down the street who saw me. He's a train freak. On 30, loves just HO narrow gauge. He's actually 3D printing my flat car I built. This kid is he's a little genius, a little tech nerd, and he's 19 or something, going to college. And he knows that Vasona. They let him donate a lot of time and stuff over there, and so he's gonna carry it on. I can tell he has it in his eyes to take steam on in the future. And be that next generation. So I do run into it, which still feels really good, especially a lot of the kids that come by here and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's great that the young kids are getting into this, because it's also a history thing. And as much as they're trying to destroy a lot of that now, people forget it was the steam engine that actually built this country.
Absolutely.
The West Coast would not exist really in this country if it wasn't for the steam engine. And what the guys did to get there. And you don't learn about that really in school anymore. And so the guys that get into this can spread that knowledge a little bit and give that. And that's the other reason I like this, because I'm a history nut. So I like that. I love the mountains, and I love
Claude, that's a good point, because with this thing, this will be a good education for people, because this is
that's what they were coming across. That's what they came across the country in.
Yeah, exactly. East to west, right here, baby. This is what did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of like that I started with British, because it pays homage to where steam originally came from. And how it came overseas. You can just follow the whole pattern and all the way to the Transcontinental Railroad and everything. And so I'm kind of glad I started British. I talked to a lot of guys about that, about the early days. We're talking 1800s here, like 1870s. And I'll find out just the different ways they did it. You start getting to different valve gearing and how, it's just amazing to see the evolution of it. And, boilers, they learned a lot with boilers.
Oh, yeah.
About boilers in that time. And, just the amount of tension and strength it needed to hold 100 psi, let alone 60 at the time,
Well, and then the invention of the safety valves, even, that came along because of that. And do we still use them on our water heaters today.
Yep.
You know?
Well, a lot of people didn't know that these old Americans, they didn't have brakes either.
Yeah. No, the cars, right? Didn't they just threw them on the cars for?
Well, yeah, but the locomotive, the only brake on a locomotive was the Johnson
bar.
If you wanted to stop, you pulled it in reverse.
Yeah, to make it easier ride for the passengers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They still do that at Disneyland. None of the locos there have brakes on. I think like one of them does. They say it's the same kind of technique. You know, you brake in the back there so you get that nice even coast. So, you know, your 5 cars you're pulling aren't going to spill popcorn all over them. So,
yeah, I got the brakeman up on the roof, turning the wheel, trying to get the thing to stop.
Those guys, those early pioneers, dude, just this, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's history. Like you said, Claude, it's just.
We
It
lost
needs to be taught and it needs to be shared.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, it really does. Because it was an important thing for the country. It was an important thing for technology, all that stuff that they're trying to, you know, get now with the STEM projects and all that kind of stuff. This is a good basis to work off on those.
Exactly.
You know, it's not just computers anymore, or now. It shouldn't be just computers now, because you still have to have the mechanical stuff there to do what the computer tells it to do.
Exactly. Well, it's your foundation there. We can't lose sight of that. Like we're all born with an iPhone in our hands.
Exactly.
That's not the way we communicated. That's not the way people got around. That's not the way it should really be, to be honest.
No.
The further we get from Mother Nature, the further we get from the damn truth. It's really kind of what it comes down to.
Exactly.
We've got a living, breathing machine here that boils water and creates power. It's like we take Mother Nature here, we're harnessing it. And it's very important to understand that these elements, these simple elements that are around us, are powerful enough. You know, I think, you know. So yeah, absolutely. I'm glad they're you know, we gotta carry this torch.
Well, yeah, that's it. Carry the torch and pass it on.
Pass it on. Exactly.
We got any more questions for Evan, guys? And the link to his channel is in the description, so make sure you get over there and take a look at what he's been doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, the best thing you can do to hook a little kid in the hobby is stick them on your train and let them run it.
Yeah,
They're hooked for life.
They're hooked for life.
Evan, I used to build and fly large scale model aircraft.
Oh, wow.
And I did that up until just a few years, 3 years ago. But we would have a show at our field, and we would have to vigilantly keep the kids off the airplanes, and even had parents come over and want to set them on the airplane to get a picture, you know. And no, I can't do that.
Yeah,
this isn't a ride-on toy here.
That's a whole nother piece.
Yeah.
Model air. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, when you've got a train that you can put them on and take them around, that really gets them hooked.
Well, you can hook the adults too.
Yeah, like the Jackson and Sharp, it's kind of like the romper room back here. I'm like, keep your hands and arms inside. We go by some gates and bushes, and I don't want any bad stuff to happen. So they're usually pretty respectful, but yeah, it's a little more live right than a model airplane. I can do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, we used to take the kids to the zoo. What was the first thing they wanted to do when you walked in the zoo? They wanted to go ride the train. Ride a train that goes around in and around the zoo.
Okay.
They want to go ride the train, you know.
Yeah.
Not see the animals, go ride the train.
Ride the train.
Hey, you can see the animals from the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, the San Francisco Zoo here. Old little steamer. It's a little 440.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you know about that? You know, that little guy. That thing was in Santa Cruz. That thing was running on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Back in like early 1900s. I didn't know. Little puffer. That's what they call that thing. Live steam too. It's a live steam loco. That thing was running up and down the boardwalk. There's pictures of that little thing like in the 20s.
Well, I'll tell you what, they don't run that thing slow at Fly Shacker either. Those guys zoom around that track.
At San Francisco, they flying too.
Woo,
yeah,
man.
I know. I was pretty surprised. The engineer, really cool guy. We were rapping about trains and Anyway, yeah. They were hauling on that little thing. That little locomotive has a lot of history to it.
Mhm.
They sat in like a freaking hippo cage for like 20 years in the like 70s and 80s. They didn't know what the hell to do with it. Some guy, actually, it was the Golden Gate Life Steamers, I think, might have got a hold of it and like, we're fixing this thing up, and they did. And
Does the Oakland Zoo still have a railroad? I know they did at one point.
I don't go to the Oakland Zoo. I don't know if the Oakland Zoo does actually.
They used to.
They used to. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had an aero train. I remember going there as a kid. The old aero train.
Okay. Oh, cool.
But I'm sure that's long gone. But I don't know if they still have the railroad.
Dennis has got a question for you. This not train related.
Drumsticks.
He said, "I've waited until the end, real quick. What drums, cymbals, hardware, and sticks? Top 3 biggest influences." Oh, we lost.
Wow. Let's see here.
Well,
Drums,
while you're thinking-
vibes, drums. I have a few. Yeah, some fives drum set. I have a fives drum set that's a big, cool double bass kit made out of Jasper. It's a nice kit. I got a Pearl kit, some Ludwig equipment, and a lot of DW too. I ended up finding out myself working with a lot of DW. It's just kind of industry standard now. Cymbals, Zildjian, Sabian, Peisty. I'll use them all. I like Zildjian a lot. And sticks, Vader, 5A wood tips. I tend to go with those. Biggest influences, I love Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters. We all love John Bonham from Zeppelin. And Vinnie Paul from Pantera. I love Vinnie Paul. So those are big influences.
Sparky's got a question. What would your dream build be?
Oh my gosh. Baldwin narrow gauge 242. There's one locomotive. I like 242s and 240s. Those are kind of where my jam is. That's where my jam is right there.
Oh, then you would like the 4-spot up at the Redwood Valley. She's a 242.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that loco on YouTube.
I ran that locomotive in 1969 as a little kid. That's another thing that hooked me.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of my dream right there. Those are my jams. Like I said, AccuCraft kind of lucked out with this 240 because it was just like it hit me. I was like, I love that loco. Now I got to get it to run like how I want it to run because there's some stuff that's really wrong with it. So I don't want to get much too crazy detail, but it needs some help. But it definitely hit me as far as that goes.
Yeah, Eric built the 242, the 4-spot, because he was switching from 12-inch gauge to 15, and they were going to be having to run around their train and run backwards. So they needed a trailing truck on that, and he used to have a pilot on the tender for when it was running backwards.
Actually, on the tender.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there used to be a pilot on the tender.
Wow. Yeah, Yes, yeah, a lot of the plantation locos, they used to do stuff like that. I know Myrtle, I know Anika out in Maui there, she had a trailing truck too. She's a 240 right now, but she was actually originally a 242. There was a little teeny trailing truck on the back of her that I noticed little postcards, and I was like, I knew that loco because the back of it, the cab's sitting so damn far. I was like, there had to have been a truck under there at some point. And sure enough, I saw an old postcard with her. I'm like, there she is. And it's from like the 50s. And I went to Maui a couple of years ago, and the sugarcane train's all down. They're actually selling the locomotives right now. They're done with that whole thing, which kind of stinks. But I saw Anika, the locomotive, sitting there, and I went underneath her because there was a guy there, and he was really cool. He's like, just walk around, don't light anything on fire. And then just looked underneath, and I was like, there it is. There was the spot the trailing truck was. So it was kind of cool popping around there.
So what's your favorite, this is my question for you. What's your favorite full-size line, whether it's been a real destination train line or a spectator line? What's the favorite that you've been on?
I've been on.
Yeah. What have you had a chance to ride? Have you had a chance to ride any of them?
Yeah, well, Niles Canyon, of course. Have Amtrak for standard gauge. Let's see. What Winnipesaukee Railroad in New Hampshire. I had the pleasure of riding very young age, and I went back to there because of some family out there. So that's a pretty cool railroad right there. I like White Pass and Yukon, although I think they're narrow gauge, right? They're narrow gauge.
Yeah, that's a nice ride.
Yeah, that seems like a really nice ride. But there's another line that's right by there that's standard gauge. Oh, you know what I really like? I like a lot of the old Orchard, the old standard gauge 060 switchers. A lot of the goats that worked around here in the Bay Area, they hauled a lot of the box cars for produce and stuff. So they had, for like a lot of the Orchard locomotives. Those were all standard gauge. There's one parked out in San Jose Historic Center that's pretty cool, and it had a rounded tank on the back of the tender and so forth. It's an 060. It was a big switcher, and she worked a lot of the back ways around here, around the Bay Area and Los Angeles, from what I understand too. In a couple stints in Nevada, so stuff like that. I like smaller locomotives. It's kind of my jam. But as far as lines go, I would say, like Winnipesaukee or something. Yeah. I
haven't been to, but I'd like to get.
I've never ridden the Denver and Rio Grande. I've been by it a ton of times on tour. I've stopped by the tracks and everything, but I've never actually ridden the Denver and Rio Grande. So that's going to be a treat. My father-in-law and I, we've been trying to make it out every year, and of course something happens. So
Durango and Silverton is a great trip. And so is the Cumberson Toltec from China, Mexico to Antonito.
Yeah.
Both of those they're great trips. They're all-day trips. But they're fantastic to take if you're ever in that area. You got to take them.
The K-36 is
just for the scenery, if nothing else. Take them. Well, we've come to the end of the hour. Actually, we're over a little bit, but that's quite all right too. That usually happens.
All right.
But thanks everybody for showing up, and thank you, Evan, for being on the channel. And you guys go over there and see his channel and see what he's doing.
Check it out. Yeah.
And
thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
We'll come back again. You're always welcome.
Yep, we'll have you back again.
Awesome.
Anytime.
That's great.
All righty. Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye, guys, and have a good weekend, rest of the weekend, and have a good week.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Buddy.
See you later.